Even by those impossibly high standards, we can confidently announce tonight that we have just read the single most deranged news story ever printed in this country. So no matter what happens going forward, and God knows what that'll be, this story will live forever as the high watermark of political lunacy. Mark your calendars. It's October 28th, 2021. This is the day that things couldn't possibly get nuttier. And here it is. According to a piece in this afternoon's Wall Street Journal, the Biden administration has decided to pay reparations to illegal aliens. In other words, foreigners who came here without invitation, who came in willful violation of legal statutes passed by our Congress per our Constitution, those people are about to get a groveling apology and huge amounts of cash. Why? Because our government dared to enforce its own laws, which now apparently is immoral. So the Biden White House is going to pay criminals for committing crimes. It's almost impossible to believe that's real, but it is real. According to the Journal, the administration plans to, quote, offer immigrant families that were separated during the Trump administration around $450,000 a person in compensation. The U.S. Departments of Justice, Homeland Security, and Health and Human Services are considering payments that could amount to close to $1 million per family. $1 million per family for illegal aliens at exactly the moment that American families are becoming noticeably poorer by the day. You won't be surprised to learn, according to the paper, that nearly 1,000 reparations claims have already been filed. Why not? The total payout from all this? More than $1 billion. So how much is that exactly? Well, let's see. If you're an American citizen who is killed in a war defending your country, our government promises to send your family $100,000. That is less than a quarter of what Joe Biden intends to give illegal aliens for the inconvenience of being deported. They're once again getting $450,000 a piece from your tax receipts. That's more than some of the 9/11 victims got. It's more than any ordinary American ever gets for anything from the U.S. government. Most people in this country just give. Foreigners with no respect for our laws or systems, meanwhile, are hitting the jackpot. So take 3 steps back. You've got to wonder how long this sort of thing can continue. How long before the people who make this country run, who, by the way, are not the same people who run this country, those are two very different groups, but before the people who make this country run decide they have had enough and they're not going to take it anymore. Why pay your taxes at this point? Seriously. It's too insulting. It's too destructive. It is evil. Now, who knows how long it's going to take to get.
Interesting point that he makes there, right? Why pay your taxes at this point? So there's been a lot of interesting drops here recently, and you can see that $450,000 a person in compensation to those that cross the border illegally. Yeah, just makes you wonder what in the world is going on. Why would they even announce this type of thing on Fox in the first place? And then again, why put out information that shows and makes this the politicians look so idiotic? And so some of us would say that are on board with the future of everything falling into our laps in a perfect way and waking the masses, this would be another great way to really tick some people off. I know for certain that those that are on the Dem side who have been waiting for some payouts given to them over the years because they're always promised free money, free everything. Well, they find out that $450,000, $45,000 or $4,500, them feel, especially those on the Democrat side who always beg for free handouts. And so, folks, this video, putting it together today, I'm trying to stay away from the vax, not as much coverage on that one. It just really is, it does drain you quite a bit when you see video after video of vaccine information. So if you just would just know that when we put these things together, we're trying to cover other things also. And so I know many of you probably appreciate that too. So notice that the fraud information that was brought up in Wisconsin was absolutely amazing. In a sense, it was also done in a way at the press conference, and I put it in the description box below if you want to watch the entire conference. It just shows you what can happen to folks when they get caught. Wisconsin may surpass the Arizona and be the first state to decertify the 2020 election. This is from One American News, reported by Christina Bobb. Did a great job when she said Wisconsin Election Commission knowingly and intentionally violated the state's election laws and instructed subordinate election officials to do the same, according to the Racine County Sheriff, Christopher Schmaling. In a shocking press conference on Thursday, if you didn't see it, guys, the law enforcement officials from the Racine County Sheriff's Office laid out their case for the election fraud. So the investigators discovered that Wisconsin expressly discussed their proposed conduct for the 2020 election, and this is what's going to happen. I'll show you some details in a moment, but here are the charges.
That the penalty for violating this statute is a Class I felony. It's a felony. I don't make the rules. This is what the legislature has decided. The 3 violations beneath are misdemeanors. Realize this. These laws aren't broken. Let me say it a different way. The government doesn't have to prove that their loved ones were taken advantage of. That's not the law that we're alleging was violated. It is violated when the proper procedures are not followed. And that is clearly what has happened.
That's outstanding. Now, I would have loved to seen something like this. March in the folks in Arizona when they had that, that the whole audit report, right? Just start off with this. Show the charges. Show that, 200 to 300,000 votes were incorrectly counted. Kick it off like that. But nope, they didn't do that in Arizona, did they? And so now we're seeing some truth bombs in other areas. Will anything be done about it? I don't know. Folks, I'm going to show you some news reports that from the mainstream media paid off to do their job from, who knows, Soros and Rockefeller. Who knows who's paying these folks off. But anyway, what did they catch? Based on just nursing home abuses. That's nursing home abuses. So let me talk about that real quick. Nursing home abuses. The sheriff said that they went into nursing homes and actually forced these folks to vote who weren't capable of voting. Yeah, just in a nutshell. So you can read the whole story if you go in the description box below. But, they wanted everybody to know in this conference that there could be as many as 50 to 100,000 fraudulent ballots cast in Wisconsin during the 2020 election. Biden supposedly won the state by 20,682. This is more than enough to change the outcome, don't you think? So the Wisconsin Election Commission orchestrated a criminal and fraudulent election. He has referred the crimes to the Racine District Attorney Patricia Hansen. Hansen is an elected Republican and will be called upon to prosecute these crimes. At the same time, the Wisconsin legislature has more than enough evidence to show the results certified in 2020 are fraudulent and must be decertified. That's right. So will they do it? That's the question. And what do we always see play out from the other side? They elevate it, they send it up, and you're wondering, are they going to do anything about this at all? So how did they get caught? Sheriff Schmaling stated that officials indicated that they, quote, needed the flexibility to violate the law. That's right. They needed to violate the COVID laws that were in place. And that they needed to, quote, instruct county clerks to break the law. Wow. Despite the blatant absurdity of these statements, the express illegality of their activities, and the fact that they were all being recorded on their Zoom meeting, election officials went ahead and violated the law anyway. The sheriff's office played the video from the Zoom meeting of the commissioners discussing their need to break the law and instruct others to do the same. Isn't that something? So they don't care. They record themselves. They show themselves. And it's just like, who cares about the law? We'll just record this thing, and we're going to go ahead and do it anyway because we're protected by demonic forces. That's just the way I look at it.
Commissioner Knudsen even states, and I will preface this, he was talking about the polling places, but he even states that we need the flexibility to not follow the law. They flat out say it in their meeting. They need the flexibility to not follow the law.
There it is. So while they elevate things in that area, remember the elevation to the Attorney General Brnovich. Senate President Karen Fann stated that AG Brnovich has already opened up his formal criminal investigation, and he is continuing to seek information. How long will he continue to seek information? So it just keeps playing out, one day at a time. And yes, I sighed. For all those that don't like to hear me sigh, I tell you what, I see these things, and if you're like me, you always wonder, are they going to do anything about it? I don't know. Well, I'm going to show you something from Donald Trump in a second. But in the meantime, I promised you I'd look this up again as I was doing research on YouTube to see what is the mainstream media saying about this stuff from Wisconsin. Check out what they say.
A recount and a nonpartisan audit of Wisconsin's 2020 vote, Republicans continue to question the election.
Today, it was the Racine County Sheriff. He says that the Wisconsin Elections Commission broke the law.
Tom Durian joins us live now to explain. Tom?
Yeah, Stephen Shannon, the Election Commission called this emergency meeting late today, and they went immediately into closed session, presumably to talk about this allegation. And the commissioner's director calls this entire thing blatantly partisan.
This, however, is an emergency meeting which has been noticed for one item and one item only, and to go into closed session.
On the short agenda for tonight's meeting, discussion, strategy planning, or action pertaining to litigation in which the commission is.
So there's one, they start out with who? Somebody that says, this is not right. We did everything correctly. They have to start out like that. Let's see, there was another one, I think Fox 6. Is this a different one?
The application for absentee ballots is that there's a certification.
Nope, that's the entire press conference. So let's go. Oh, here it is, right here.
County Sheriff Christopher Smaling says election laws were shattered. Former President Trump urging people to watch the news conference. The sheriff supported him in 2020.
Democrats say it is just a publicity stunt. The case comes from one nursing home in Mount Pleasant, and that's where we go live to where Jason Calvi for details. Jason?
It's just a publicity stunt. And oh, by the way, he's a Republican. See how they started off? They're really good at swiftly swooping into the minds of the people to make sure that they know there's nothing to see here.
Well, Mary, the sheriff says it's a complicated case, 1 year in the making. It involved search warrants as well as interviews with staff and loved ones of residents here at this nursing home. And while the sheriff is alleging crimes were committed, he's not yet recommending charges.
In past years, 10 or so residents of Ridgewood Care Center voted. In 2020, it rose to 42. Family of 8 of them say their relatives didn't have the cognitive ability to vote.
BH would ask her own son.
And so it's 42, just 8, just a handful of folks from one small place. But what did we just get done showing you? From Gateway Pundit, showing Christina Bob's conclusion. There could be as many as 50 to 100,000 fraudulent ballots cast in Wisconsin during the 2020 election. It's not just from this particular report, folks. It is spreading, and we're seeing this information play out. So a statement from President Trump said, he said the statement that I made a few weeks ago saying that Republicans will not vote if the election fraud of 2020 is not fixed was in no way meant to imply that I would tell them not to vote, but rather that they may not have the incentive to vote if the election process is not fully remedied, and quickly. It was the crime of the century. We are working on solving that problem every day. It will be done. People do not want to spend their time and money to have a scam like that happen again. Regardless of anything or anyone, we must get out the Republican and sane vote. That is pretty cool. So here's a little video clip of a guy who can impersonate President Trump.
Good. He's better than I am. How are you? Look at this guy.
It's a lot better, folks. We're doing some beautiful things.
He's a big dude.
He's a big, scary, burly guy. So thank you so much, folks. This guy's a legend. He gave me... Bye on.